Thank you for acknowledging my ability to continue my career for 34 years in the face of blatant misogyny.
No, baby. Get in. Get in.
I'm coming.
We're going to the farm.
Life and death, waiting to move on.
Coffee and lots of it.
Really? You drank a lot of coffee?
Yeah.
Here's the weird thing. Every time my kids would visit me in the studio, it would just so happen that I'd be working on a song like Holy Water.
There isn't anyone who doesn't know who Madonna Ciccone is. That is the impact she single-handedly had on her audience, an utter chokehold. She might look like someone who fearlessly crashed through life, but the reality is far different and far uglier. Her life is an abysmal failure in many ways. From a traumatic childhood to being the prime target of objectification for years, there is very little in her life that did not go wrong. Add in a messy divorce and a few other family dramas, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a complete recipe for disaster, otherwise known as Madonna Ciccone's life. She rose to overnight fame when the audience noticed a young girl with divine vocals and the energy of a literal succubus. She released her debut album in 1983. With that alone, Madonna managed to make her viewers dance on her pinky finger. She became a walking, talking S symbol. Despite her immense talent, her openness to her S became the reason everyone in her time recognized and appreciated her. It is not every day somebody comes into the music industry to rule the world and manages to do exactly that. Until then, everybody thought of her as a pretty face who used her body to achieve her status. Very few people recognized the thorns in her journey. That was until she opened up about her messed up upbringing. She and her other 5 other siblings were left under the care of her father when her mother died of breast cancer when she was only 30 years old in 1963. This was when things started changing for her. 3 years after her mother's death, her father Tony remarried. Remember what the fairy tales said about stepmothers? That became her reality. With a father who loved to ground her every chance he got, and a stepmother who had nothing better to do than slap Madonna around as much as possible, Madonna knew she had to step in and take control of her life. "Okay, I don't have a mother to love me," she said. "I'm going to make the world love me." And that she did. She fought her boundaries every step of the way. Her parents were strictly Catholic and wanted Madonna to remain a virgin until she married. We all can guess who won that battle.
If I had become a born-again Christian, or renewed my faith in the Catholic Church and started hanging out with the Pope in Rome, people would be a little bit more comfortable with it.
Another thing she had to fight for all her life was attention. Having a big family meant you had to put in extra effort to get noticed. Madonna just had an extremely bizarre way of doing that. She said, "Because I had such a large family, I realized that I would only be noticed and heard if I made the biggest noise. If I wanted my father's attention, I would get on a table and tap dance and lift my dress, and guess what? He'd pay attention to me." But beating her suffocating upbringing was not the only challenge she had to overcome. She was met with resistance on her way to fame, too. The public scrutinized her bold personality too many times to count, and sometimes rightly so. All the credit goes to her almost non-existent morals and inhibitions. It was like she got off on passing the moral and religion police off.
Religion is an idea that someone pushes on you. Religion is judgment. Religion is suffering. Religion is conforming. Religion is establishment.
She claimed once that, "I reach more people. My S boldness threatens people. I'm assertive. I'm not embarrassed or ashamed or inhibited." At times, it seemed like she only had one goal: to break misogynistic and religious stereotypes and make women embrace their feminine energy. And she found the easiest way to achieve that very early on in life. "I know I'm not the best singer, and I know I'm not the best dancer, but I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in pushing people's buttons, in being provocative, and in being political." Some of her iconic Madonna moments include wearing controversial dresses during her concerts, kissing Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera on live television, getting a book published with very sensual and very inappropriate photographs, releasing an album called Erotica, and defying religious norms every chance she got in her songs and interviews. Her views might be deranged for many, but many people are of the view that she embraced her femininity like no girl is allowed to. Madonna, referring to her objectification, said, "If you're a girl, you have to play the game. You're allowed to be pretty and cute and S. But don't act too smart. Don't have an opinion that's out of line with the status quo. You are allowed to be objectified by men and dress like a S, but don't own your S. And finally, do not age."
Be what women feel comfortable with you being.
But she still preferred to not allow anybody else, especially her followers, to tell her what she could or couldn't do. She spent her life trying to loosen the noose her family tied around her neck in the name of Catholicism. She wanted to inculcate complete openness in her audience. There are certain religious groups who have turned S into a sinful act. I've always tried to open people's minds to the idea that it's not something to be ashamed of. According to her, this confidence was given to her by her mother, who passed away too early to teach her the societal norms. Some of my lack of inhibition comes from my mother's death. For example, mothers teach you manners, and I absolutely did not learn any of those rules and regulations, she said. But if you think she did not know religion, you are wrong. Madonna might not agree with a lot of religious sentiments, but she was a curious little thing. She studied a lot of religions and even dove into Kabbalah, which is a form of Jewish mysticism, until it became the cause of her marital problems.
Religion never answered those questions, and when I started studying Kabbalah for the first time, I felt like those questions were being answered.
Speaking of marriage, like everything else in her life, Madonna had a disastrous first marriage. She got married to Sean Penn in 1985, her co-star from her music video Material Girl. The duo became famous for the insanely violent fights and a destructive type of relationship that the public had a very clear insight on. So much so that they were known as the Poison Pens. The ex-couple still claims to have mutual love for each other, which is surprising considering the tumultuous way things ended. That wasn't the only marital failure she encountered. Madonna remarried to Guy Ritchie in 2000, and let's say history repeated itself. Both of them felt suffocated by each other's presence and eventually decided things weren't working out. Rumors are that her divorce cost her a fortune. Due to lack of prenup, Madonna had to pay $75 million as divorce settlement to her husband. Things got even more complicated because of custody cases over children.
What's a decision you made that, looking back, maybe wasn't the best idea?
Getting married.
And if you think that is where her family drama ended, you are in for a surprise. In 2011, another issue regarding her elder brother, Anthony Ciccone, sprung up, and she landed in hot waters yet again. Her brother claimed to have been homeless for a year despite his sister being a multi-bazillionaire. He had apparently lost his job at a vineyard, and things got so financially tight for him that he was rumored to have been living under a bridge for quite some time. According to him, Madonna turned her back on him when he needed her the most. According to him, Madonna doesn't give a S if I'm dead or alive. She lives in her own world. But further details revealed that Anthony was an alcoholic, and this brother-sister duo never shared a close bond because of sibling rivalry.
I don't talk to my sister much. I don't pay much attention to her music.
He died on the 23rd of February 2023, and another chapter filled with bitter allegations and criticism opened for Madonna. In response to his death, the internet went into a frenzy. Many of her followers criticized Madonna and said, "I wonder why Madonna did not help her brother in homelessness." Another one added, "We're talking about a woman who chose eternal youth over family. I regret that Anthony died, but we are talking about a woman who is worth millions, and in the last years of his life, Anthony slept under a bridge. Way to leave a legacy, Madonna." Some reports claim that Madonna had taken him in, even when he bad-mouthed about her every chance he got. She tried to help him as much as she could, even in his last days, but it wasn't nearly enough. By now, you can surely understand where her trust issues come from. She did not know whom to consider her true friend in the industry. Her family was out of question at this point. She claimed, "You know what they say? It's lonely at the top, but it ain't crowded." But whatever happened, we can say that she made the best of her life. The world will always remember her as an icon who broke far too many barriers to count.
Current favorite obsession?
Sex.
Let's just hope her remaining life is not as cruel on her. That's it for today. See you in the next one. Goodbye.